What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, mere seconds after the Colts game has just finished, we're here to give you guys a reaction video to the Colts winning their final preseason game at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-10. So, Cody, I think you and I obviously saw the starters really only played for the first quarter. You know, I mean, we heard Frank Reich mention that, you know, they were going to play for at least the first half. Well, they really only played for the first quarter. Do you think that had something to do with the fact that, you know, maybe Tampa not playing their starters for the majority of the game had something to do with that? Or do you think there was just another factor that went into it?
I do wonder that. Yeah, it's just like, well, what's the competition going to be? You know, if Tampa's not playing their starters, what's the point? You know, and I think the Colts just wanted to maybe see their offense go down and do it. And it was great to see, you know, the Colts go down and score after they struggled. And I said on, you know, over Twitter, and I got some flack for it. I hated the way the Colts' first two offensive series.
I mean, we all did. We all hated it.
Yeah. It was bad. Poor execution. You know, just some things that they got to clean up. Again, albeit, you know, what I do want to say, there, you know, you don't have Jonathan Taylor, you don't have Nyheim Hines. You know, you were very vanilla.
And not to mention, you're playing against a very good defense in Tampa Bay, right?
Exactly, and you weren't really pushing the ball down the field a whole lot. I don't know if that was more like, you know, the scheme or more.
I think it was like just again the vanilla play calling, you know, kind of stuff like that.
So it's like, how much do you take from that versus how much were the receivers just not getting open? I don't know exactly. I haven't watched film on it. You know, it's hard to see, but, you know, that was kind of, you know, something that I was just like, you know, I was frustrated by just the lack of doing anything the first couple drives. And, you know, Matt Ryan kind of taking a pounding there and tell Matt Ryan, man, it's preseason. Please don't freak us out by running the football.
Why was everybody so freaked out? He dove before he got hit.
He did the right thing. It's just like, dude, like we're not even to week one.
I'm thinking that same thing. When he ran, I was like, oh, here goes the fan base. Like, get down, get down, get down. Like everybody freaking out.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we might as well start with the quarterback play, right? I mean, let's go ahead and get into that, right? So Matt Ryan, 5 of 7 for 59 yards, sacked one time, had a QB rating of 96.7. So again, for only playing in the first quarter, you know, for vanilla offense, the way they're kind of moving it right now, still wasn't much to really take after. Like you said, we don't have our best running backs. We're doing vanilla play calling and how everything is going. You know, you're not seeing Matt Ryan developed into this full system yet because we haven't had everything firing on all cylinders. So, I mean, is it concerning to you that Matt Ryan doesn't look like he's elevating things, or do you think that there's a lot of factors going into it that make it that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to tell at this point, you know, in the preseason. It's just like, you know, you could make a case and you could argue, and I have to some degree. So I maybe just want to take a step back and just be like, look, at the end of the day, if this looks the same way week one, you know, we're going to have more issues. But as it stands right now, it's like, you know what, the offense, they came back to their credit. You know, they seemed like they changed a few things up. You know, they were able to run the ball a little bit more, and you know, they were able to kind of just, you know, Matt Ryan was given protection. He had a nice throw to Pittman, you know, right near the goal line, down about the 3. So, you know, it was good to see. I'll say all that, even though the offense struggled early on, and that was kind of frustrating to see. At the end of the day, you know, these guys are still figuring each other out, you know, like Matt Ryan with these young receivers and just this offense in general. And so I was encouraged, I guess, to see them come back and do what they did. And that kind of shows you the potential that they do have when they want to push the ball down the field. So, yeah, all that to say, again, I still do have concerns at wide receiver. I don't think that's something that's going to go away until these guys step up and prove it to me, because they didn't really do a whole lot, you know, and you know, we talked about, we don't know if that was more on the wide receivers, more on the play calling, or maybe more on Matt Ryan. We don't know. That still didn't really necessarily like calm any of my questions. And I think that's fair. You know, some people just like to band-aid it over and say it's just the preseason. And at the end of the day, though, some of those things in the preseason can translate and do translate, you know, to the regular season. And so sometimes they don't. Sometimes those things get cleaned up. But I think it's valid to have some concerns, and my concerns with the wide receivers and even to the tight ends to a smaller degree. I think they're valid. And so obviously, guys like Alec Pierce, Paris Campbell, Ashton Doolin, all these guys, they have an opportunity to really elevate this offense. But as it stands right now, I still have questions, Derek, the same questions I had. I don't think this raised any more questions, but just, the experience, like, is there going to be a number 2 guy that right away can take the pressure off of Michael Pittman? And we didn't see that again tonight for whatever reason. So it is still a concern.
Yeah, and Pierce and Campbell were never targeted in this game.
No.
I think another thing that we have to kind of understand here is in the totality of this game, from start to finish, for all the Colts quarterbacks, they threw the ball a grand total of 22 times. So I think we have to understand that, like, this is preseason and these guys are not throwing the football very often. And, like, Matt Ryan's going to throw the ball more than 22 times in a game by himself in most games this year. So I think that we kind of have to take it into account that, yeah, this is kind of dumbed down in the way that things are being ran right now. So, like, again, we're not seeing much from Matt Ryan. We're only seeing them play for like a quarter, the starters. Like, not every starter gets targeted in the first quarter, right? So, like, it's quarter by quarter basis, but we're only seeing, we saw him go after Deion Jackson. We saw him go after Michael Pittman, but we never saw him attempt Campbell or Pierce. And I mean, games differ, and how things go like that. So at the end of the day, Matt Ryan is still going to be QB1 and he's still going to have to get things figured out. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're just not going to know about this offense until we actually see them go out week 1 against the Texans. Unfortunately, that's just what's going to happen because we don't know anything. We haven't seen JT all preseason, even though we know he's going to be a beast. We didn't see Hines for half of the preseason. So your other dynamic weapon was not out there. So things are different. Right. So at the end of the day, we'll move on from Matt Ryan. Let's talk about something that's a little bit more debate worthy here. Shall we, Cody? Let's go into the Foles versus Ellinger topic. So Nick Foles again struggled today, 3 of 5 for 24 yards, had 1 rush for 5 yards, 2 rushes for 5 yards, actually. And then Sam Ellinger taking over in the third quarter and absolutely dominating once again, 5 of 7 for 65 yards and had a 45-yard touchdown run on the second play of the second half, sparking this Indianapolis offense. Cody, I think and by the way, Sam Ellinger has finished every game this preseason with a 100-plus QBR rating. Just want to say that again. But I think I saw your answer on Twitter. Do you think that Ellinger's done enough to convince that he deserves to be on this roster?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were going to ask me about QB2. I'm not ready to go there. I just think that's too premature still. Because again, like you said, it was against, the second and third stringers still. I know Nick Foles was as well. I do think Ellinger obviously, has played better this preseason and has looked dynamic, obviously. But yeah, I do think you have to keep 3 quarterbacks because I don't think you can sneak him through waivers. Derek, he's played that well. And give a credit where it's due, man. Sam Ellinger, we've been his biggest critic, but he has looked phenomenal. He has definitely put in the work this offseason, and that's exciting. I don't necessarily see him being like the future at this team's quarterback position, but I see him being a really, really good backup for this team, moving forward. And so all that to say, Sam Ellinger has definitely convinced me that he's worthy of a roster spot because, at the beginning, of the offseason, a lot of us would have said, is he even going to make this roster? And he has really improved. So I want to give credit where it's due, man. Sam Ellinger, once again, continues to light it up in the preseason. Now, the question is, how much of that translates to an actual NFL game? Like, when you're playing full starters and stuff, and you're not playing guys that are probably going to be, greeting you at Walmart in a couple of weeks. That's kind of the question mark for me. But yeah, just all that to say, Sam Ellinger has looked really good. Wanted to also give credit to Desmond Patman, had another really, really good game. So I think he's definitely earned his way on the roster too, Derek. But yeah, I mean, right now I think 3 quarterbacks is the way you have to go.
And look, I've been on debates with people on Twitter for the last 2 hours talking about this situation, okay? My mind has been changed. I want Ellinger as QB2. Like, look, I understand that people are saying, oh, well, Foles has done it for longer. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He knows Frank Reich's system, this and that and this and that. My problem is, and even when people are saying this is vanilla defenses, right? Or vanilla offenses, right? Like there's nothing that's schemed up for Nick Foles. Well, listen, nothing's been schemed up for Ellinger either. Nothing. Like, Ellinger is playing against 2s and 3s the same way that Foles is. And, like, it's not the fact that, like, these two are close to one another. Foles has not been good in the preseason. Ellinger has been dominant in the preseason. Like, it's not even been close. Ellinger has blown away even Matt Ryan in the preseason. Now, again, I'm going to say right off the top, that's obvious because Ellinger is playing 2s and 3s and Matt Ryan's playing the 1s. I get that. I'm just saying from a talent perspective, Foles is playing almost the same guys as Sam Ellinger. And Sam Ellinger is delivering good passes, accurate passes, doesn't look lost in the pocket, can run, actually run. You just saw him do a 45-yard touchdown run. Nick Foles ain't doing that. That's another element to this game that Ellinger is bringing that he couldn't bring before, and it's something that Foles can't do. Foles cannot do that. He does not have the mobility to go out and do things like that. And there's more times where I'm sitting back and I'm saying, Foles, what the heck are you doing? Versus Sam Ellinger. Oh my gosh, Sam Ellinger. Like, this is a completely different Sam Ellinger than we saw from just last season, Cody. Like, he looks different. He looks like he's actually capable of running an offense and not looking like that deer in headlights look that we saw from last year when things sometimes look like they got too crazy. The moment right now does not look too crazy to Sam Ellinger. He's confident. He's poised. He's looking down the field. Even when he's running away from defenders, he's looking down the field, making throws on the run and making the smart decisions when he knows he can't get somebody, throwing it out of bounds. That was something we did not see from Sam Ellinger last year. I'm saying the development of Sam Ellinger makes me think that if worst case scenario, you saw him come in and be the backup, I feel that Sam Ellinger's attributes give him a better shot of making plays for this team as a backup than what I see in Foles right now. Guys, Foles was an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP in 2017. It was a different time with a different team. It might have been practically the same system, but it's different guys. And not to mention, how many teams has Nick Foles been on since that happened? 3. He's been on 3 teams. You know why that is? Because Nick Foles can't stay competitive. He can't stay consistent. He's not consistent at quarterback play. And if you're telling me that both of these guys are going to be inconsistent, give me the guy that's going to make the bigger play on 1 or 2 more occasions. And that's Sam Ellinger right now. I'll pull off of that now for the time being, because again, I think that Nick Foles is still going to be quarterback 2, unfortunately, because Reich and this crew probably like Foles more than Ellinger at this point, even though Ellinger has clearly been the better quarterback all preseason. But, you know, that's Reich for you. He's loyal to a fault in a lot of different ways, especially for a guy that was in his system when they won on the biggest stage. So that's enough for the quarterback play. But let's go into, like you said, the wide receivers, and then we'll get into the running backs. Again, Patman, the number 1 wide receiver today, 3 catches for 50 yards. Like you said, Patman, I think Patman is locked in the number 5 wide receiver position. I don't think there's any reason you would have it any other way right now. I mean, Patman's just been phenomenal. You look at Deion Jackson, who had 3 catches for 34 yards. 26 of those came off of that screen by Ryan. Michael Pittman, 3 catches for 29 yards. Woods and Harris both had 1 catch for 12. Mike Strawn had 1 catch for 11. Doolin and Granson both had 1 catch for 6 yards each. I mean, again, you saw great stuff from Patman, but outside of that, I mean, there's really not more to talk about here, Cody, because we really didn't see a whole lot more from anybody else.
Didn't really seem like they targeted their wide receivers a whole lot this game.
Yeah.
It was more about the running backs. It seemed like a lot, like running backs and stuff like that. And you're right, they didn't pass it a whole lot compared to maybe how they've done in the past. So yeah, it's hard to tell right now, but I think you're right. I think clearly I do really feel strongly that Desmond Patman is going to make this roster. No question about it. The last 2 preseason games, he's looked very, very strong. And, but the question is, if they keep 6, who's that going to be? They're call me crazy, but I'm kind of convinced it might be Kiki Kuti because, you have 2 big wide receivers in a row, right?
Yeah, and because of the special teams ability, right? We saw him do fantastic on punt returns. I mean, it makes total sense for him to round out the back end of this roster.
And with the question marks, and he'll probably be available, but with Isaiah Rodgers not being in this game, it gave the Colts an opportunity to see what QT had. He obviously had, kind of a muffed one, but when he took the ball out, he looked really good. And it's always good to have some guys who have some versatility on the back end of the roster that can do some things on special teams. And QT can do that in terms of returning. And I think he's honestly, Derek, kind of your backup slot receiver if Paris Campbell were to go down. I really feel like he has that potential to do that. So I think QT and then, Desmond Patman, they have different skill sets, but they both offer different things for this team. And I think you like a guy like Mike Strawn, you can pass through waivers and you could have him on your practice squad this year. As good as he's looked at times, again, he's only had like a week in this system, coming back from that injury. So I really do feel like that's kind of how it's going to shake out. And again, we'll have kind of our 53-man roster predictions that'll drop probably on Monday. So be sure to check that out. But yeah, as far as the wide receivers go, you didn't see a whole lot, but I'm getting the sense that's probably how the direction the Colts are going to take it.
Absolutely agree. What's going on, everybody? Today, I'm introducing our new sponsor, Home Field, a premium collegiate apparel brand out of Indianapolis that has incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Home Field, being a local brand to Indianapolis, is partnering with the Indianapolis Colts to bring you a new collection of Colts apparel. This is Home Field's first NFL collection. They're super excited to be involved with the Indianapolis Colts, and we're excited to help promote their new designs. They have 6 new designs. They have a hooded sweatshirt, crew neck, 2 different tees, joggers, and a jacket. Now, if I say so myself, I'm definitely going to be rocking the sweatshirt and the joggers, guys, because they look extremely comfortable, and I'm definitely going to need them for the fall and winter season. It's the perfect collection to have for you guys to kick off the NFL season. It is going to be launching August 27th at 12 p.m. Eastern, so be on the lookout for it. And if this is already passed, make sure to go check out the Home Field site and be able to get yours today. New customers can get 15% off their first purchase from Home Field with the code BRINGTHEJUICE at checkout at homefieldapparel.com. Make sure to go check out their website, guys, and catch your Colts apparel. When you're looking at the running backs, I mean, outside of Ellinger, who was the leading rusher today with his 1 rush, Philip Lindsay, 7 carries for 23 yards. Devontae Price, 4 carries for 17 yards. Tyson Williams, 5 carries for 16 yards. I mean, who do you pick here for running back number 3, Cody? I mean, obviously, I think, Deion Jackson was the initial starter in this game. But, if you're making me pick between them, I mean, Tyson Williams, Devontae Price, and Philip Lindsay all show great promise. But if I'm thinking of a guy that I want to be that 3rd running back, I'm probably going with Philip Lindsay right now.
Yeah, there's no debate for me. Philip Lindsay's RB3. I'm more questioning RB4. If they keep 4, who's your 4th? I want to say Deion Jackson at this point. I would say, because he did get. It's clear the Colts wanted to see more from him, and I felt like when he got in open space, obviously on that screenplay, he showed some nice ability, some nice versatility out of the backfield. So I think Philip Lindsay at this point for me, Derek, he's a lock to make the roster. He's RB3. And then RB4 would probably be Deion Jackson at this point if you're making me choose.
Absolutely agree. And then when you're talking about turnovers, there were no interceptions by the Colts today. But Jack Cohen and Kiki QT both fumbled the ball today, but thankfully both were recovered. No problems there. Let's go to the defense here real quick. The leading tacklers today. So in retrospect here, Cody, I know we talked about the defense really struggling against the run, right? Particularly the backup interior guys. I'll say this, outside of like 2 drives where the Colts just absolutely stunk it up, stopping the run, outside of that, they actually did very well today. It wasn't overwhelmingly bad like what we saw against Detroit, where Detroit almost ran double the amount of yardage against us than what Tampa Bay did today. Their leading rusher was Keyshawn Vaughan, who had 9 carries for 36 yards. So in retrospect, they did a pretty decent job today. But when you're looking at the guys who made all these tackles, Sterling Weatherford with a 10 tackle day today. I mean, it's confirmed he's on the roster, right?
Oh, no question. He's locked. Yep, definitely.
So, and then your next couple that you had here, Ben Banagoo, 5 tackles, also had 3 tackles for a loss. Cody, it looked like Ben Banagoo was fighting for his life today, trying to secure a spot on this roster on that defensive end spot. I mean, what did you like from him today?
Yeah, you talked about it. Like, he looked like a guy that was fighting for a roster spot, and he should be, because that's exactly the situation he's in. That's exactly what I wanted to see from Ben Banagoo. A guy that's playing with a little bit of reckless abandon, almost just like, all out. This is it for him with the Colts. If he doesn't play well here, he's probably gone. So I like to see that. Is it, too little too late? That's my question. I don't know yet. But certainly I think he did himself some favors a little bit, in terms of that. But, there are some talented defensive linemen ahead of him. So we'll see. But yeah, I liked what I saw from him. He talked about Weatherford, phenomenal. Again, it's funny how it's kind of shifted the last couple of weeks from JoJo Doman, more to Sterling Weatherford making the final 53 man. And I do feel like right now, Derek, he's your number 5 linebacker, and it's not really that close to me. So Sterling Weatherford looked really good. You talk about the run defense. Yeah, they struggled a little bit. I believe it was in that, the second quarter, they struggled a little bit. And I do think there still could be in play, if the Colts kind of are scouring waiver wire and stuff, they add more of a vet, back there behind Grover Stewart to help stop the run a little bit.
Think of the what Grover Stewart did on that second drive, bro. Oh, dude. My God. Like, he single-handedly made them lose 8 yards by himself. He made every tackle on that drive. I mean, he pinned them. They were already at the 9-yard line, pinned them at their own 1 by himself. I mean, I talked about it in the pregame before that, Tampa was, you and I talked with those cannon fire Bucks guys yesterday. We were talking about how that offensive line, they're missing some guys, especially on the interior. I mean, Grover Stewart made him freaking pay, man. He was dominant in that drive. I mean, and there were a couple times too where he didn't make the tackle, but he influenced the run by just blowing up his own linemen.
Yep. Yeah, I love to see Big Grove being a menace back there. Great to see him, because we were questioning, all right, like this Colts defensive line, right? They're more emphasis on getting after the quarterback. Is that going to impact, their ability to stop the run? And Grover Stewart certainly said, no, sir, today. So great to see that. And I wanted to also, talking about some of the starters, wanted to also just give a shout out to Stefan Gilmore. He is still legit. He's still number 1 corner, one of the best corners in the league. There was kind of a BS penalty on him, kind of a weak call. But, again, fortunately it's preseason. But, he just came up, man. He delivered a hit. But I'm just
looks
dude,
like
this man
got it. He does not look slow by any stretch of the imagination.
No, he didn't. And so I love to see that. I thought he looked really, really good. I think Okereke had a really nice tackle on 3rd down that forced them to go into go for 3 there. So yeah, a couple starters, they looked really good. And Tampa Bay kind of had some plays where they were hurting it up a little bit. Didn't really like what I saw on a couple occasions from some of the other corners. Kenny Moore kind of got beat on a 4th down, and Brandon Faison got beat on the outside. Yeah. So you'd like to see them shore that up a little bit, but give credit the defense bent a little bit, but they didn't, break.
They didn't break. It's the bend don't break mentality in Indianapolis.
Yeah, so I love to see that. And Yeah, I just felt like the defense really shorted up there, especially after that first drive. I thought they did a pretty decent job all day long. I mean, 10 points, that's a good defensive day for you.
And so I'm going to go through a couple more guys here, Cody, and you let me know, and we'll kind of talk about whether or not we think they're going to make the roster. We'll say, right. We'll obviously have our final prediction for later on, but we'll kind of debate it a little bit.
Sure.
Trevor Denbow, who had 5 tackles in this game.
Ooh, no.
Okay. Rodney Thomas, who had 4 tackles in this game.
Yes, he will make it. There was that injury to Armani Watts.
Yeah,
so I do
that
think
is another one. You're right. We'll have to see what happens with Armani Watts. Anthony Chesley, who had 3 tackles in this game, had 2 tackles for a loss too in the run game.
Man,
he looked really good today. He looked really good today.
He did. Maybe I still have a little bit of that, as they call it, that poison in my veins from that Jacksonville game. But yeah, he did play well. I'll say yes.
James Skalsky, who only had 3 tackles, but it felt like he was in on every tackle on the special teams today.
The linebacker, right?
Yep, linebacker, undrafted linebackers going up against Dolman, Ryan, and Weatherford.
No, because Weatherford can play special teams too. So
yeah,
no.
I know that sucks because dang, dude, he was in on every special teams tackle today. I mean, I thought every single tackle came from freaking James Skalsky today. And that sucks because I really like him. I like what he is. I definitely think he's going to be a practice squad guy. He'll be one of the first few guys that would be taken off if a special teams need comes about. What about JoJo Dolman? Also had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss today.
That one's tough. I'm fringe right there because 6 linebackers, that's a lot of linebackers. I don't know.
It's tough.
I'm really torn.
Yeah, I'm torn on that too, dude. I totally get you. One other guy that we can mention is Dallas Flowers, who also had another decent game today. Had some good tackles on the defense as well.
Okay, so I said Chesley makes it. That's 5, and then 4 safeties.
But yeah, if Rodney Thomas ends up playing safety,
I'm going to say no.
You're going to say no for Dallas Flowers?
I'm going to think he's going to be practice squad,
okay.
But I think he certainly will stay
on the
roster. He would
definitely be one of the first guys off the practice squad if something were to happen, but I think he will. I honestly think
want him to. But I want him to. I don't know.
And especially for this. Let's talk about this for a second. Dallas Flowers had a 53-yard kickoff return today, and he was one man from beating it and going to the house, dude. Look, I like Dallas Flowers, and I love the fact that he's not only a guy that, plays a defense, but his special teams ability, he's got some ability, dude. I mean, he's not as fast as Rodgers, but he's shifty back there, man. And we saw with Isaiah Rodgers and Nyheim Hines not playing in this game, you saw Kiki QT and Dallas Flowers both being return men today, and they dominated in that aspect.
That's question. I'm so torn because I want him to make it, but do you have enough roster spots? That's my question.
Yeah.
Especially with if I'm keeping Chesley, then it's a lot harder to keep him.
Right.
So
definitely very interesting. But yeah, I totally get you. 2 more things here for special teams wise, and then we can hop off this. Blankenship, good to see him make both field goals today. Had a 46-yarder and a 39-yarder. So plenty of leg on those, was accurate.
And the kickoffs. He's doing kickoffs.
Yeah, and he was doing kickoffs. I would like to see him more consistently get the ball into the end zone. He only did that once today for the 5 times he had to kick off today, and he only did it once. So little concerning he doesn't continue to get it all the way into the end zone every time, but nevertheless, it is what it is. But let's talk about the big storyline, man. Matt Hawk. Everyone was wondering, how is Matt Hawk going to handle the pressure today? 5 punts, averaging 50.5 yards per punt. 4 of those punts punted them inside their own 20-yard line. Think about that. That's a way to show that your team made the right decision getting you.
Absolutely. I am not concerned about punter anymore. That's great, man. I love that. And shout out to the Bills who decided it was a good idea, knowing the whole thing around.
Yeah, and they knew too. They knew. They just chose not to kick him off the team until now.
So now the Bills taking an L. Love to see it.
Yes.
So shout out to them for releasing Matt Hawk so the Colts could pick him up.
Yep.
I hope he continues it because, he looked like a weapon.
Hey, Pat McAfee approved too. Pat McAfee was on Twitter and he approved. So if Pat McAfee approves, guys, then we know we got ourselves a stellar one. So awesome. It was great to see Matt Hawk on almost every punt just continue to drive it back. Longest punt was a 57-yarder. And I think it was it was the one that he was the furthest back. And even when he was kicking from inside his own 20, was still putting them inside the 30. So great job by Matt Hawk. Again, like you said, special teams wise in general of everything today was so much better than what it was in the first 2 weeks, from the kickoff coverage and punt coverage to actually returning the football. It was night and day from what it was the first 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And maybe they were just, kind of getting out some of the wrinkles a little bit, trying to figure out, all right, who's going to make our unit? Who's going to be the final guys there? And there's some trial and error there. That's what the preseason's for. And so, I wasn't overly concerned. I think I had said that before until we saw, kind of the final 53 man. If it was continuing to be a trending issue, be a little bit more concerned. But I feel a lot better today after this game about the special team unit than I did, even a day ago. So definitely encouraged by everything we saw from the kicker to the punter to the special teams coverage. If they can continue that, man, it's going to continue to be one of the better special teams units in the league, and really excited for it.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. A lot to unpack in this game. The Colts winning their first and only preseason game, winning 27-10 over Tampa. A lot of great conversations, a lot of great things happening in this game. A lot to look forward to as we are basically 2 weeks away from the NFL season officially starting. So the next time the Colts put on the pads and get out there and do it for real, it's going to count. So we'll see how it goes. But thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Appreciate all the support. And as always, guys, go Colts.